The unwanted gift, the sky above the alien outpost was always gray. No sun, no stars, just clouds and cold wind. Elias stood by the transport platform, arms crossed, waiting. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't want anything. But the message was clear. A reward is coming. He hated that word. Reward. The ship landed with a soft hiss. A tall alien stepped out, wearing golden armor and a proud smile. "For your bravery," the alien said. "Our High Council offers this gift." Behind the alien, chained and silent, stood a girl. Not human. She was tall, with silver skin and glowing violet eyes. Her hair was long and dark blue, braided in the warrior style of her people. Her name was Sci-Fi, but no one asked her name. Elias stared at her. She stared back. "She is yours now," the alien said. "A rare one, obedient, strong. Her kind once ruled the stars, now they serve." Elias felt something cold crawl up his spine. He said nothing as the alien left. Sci-Fi stepped forward. Her eyes watched him like a hunter watches prey. There was no fear in her gaze. "You are free," Elias said, voice low. She didn't move. "I don't want you," he added. "You can go wherever you want." Still, she didn't speak. She only lifted her wrist, showing the metal collar locked around it. "I don't have the key," he said, "but I'll find a way to remove it." Finally, she spoke. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "They say all humans lie," she said. "You will use me. And when I break, you'll throw me away." Elias turned and walked toward his quarters. "Do what you want," he said. "Just don't follow me." But she followed. The outpost was small. 2 rooms, one for sleeping, one for training. She walked through the door and looked around. He dropped his gear on the floor and sat on the edge of his cot. "You're not staying," he said. "I have nowhere to go," she replied. "Then stay outside. Then I die." He looked at her. Her face was beautiful, but not in a soft way. It was the kind of beauty shaped by battle, not comfort. Her scars were old, faded, and proud. He sighed. "You can sleep on the floor." She didn't thank him. She just sat down near the wall and rested her back against it. Night fell. The wind howled through the cracks in the walls. Elias tried to sleep, but he kept hearing soft breathing. Not fearful, just steady. Like she wasn't afraid of him at all. He turned over. "Why didn't you run?" he asked in the dark. "I wanted to see what kind of man sets a slave free." He had no answer. Days passed. Sci-Fi cooked the meals. She cleaned the weapons. She trained in the yard alone, practicing with an old spear she found. Elias said nothing. He spent his time repairing the comms array and checking old maps. She never asked for anything, but she watched him. He never looked her in the eyes. He spoke in short sentences, and at night, he whispered in his sleep. One night, she heard him whisper a name, Lucas. She didn't ask about it, but she remembered it. One morning while he was out, she opened his armor locker. Inside was a set of old battle armor, black and scorched. Strange marks were carved into the inner plates, symbols she recognized from old war stories. Her people once called them death ward signs, meant to keep dark spirits away. She closed the locker before he returned. That evening, she gave him food and sat across from him. "You were in the front lines," she said. "Yes. You lost someone," she said softly. His hand clenched the metal fork. "Don't speak of things you don't understand. Then explain them." He stood and walked away. Later that night, she sat by the wall again. He was silent on his cot. The wind outside was louder than usual. She spoke without turning. "They thought giving me to you would please you. It didn't," he said. "Then why don't you make me leave?" "Because you're not my enemy," he whispered. She turned to face him. For the first time, there was no coldness in her eyes, only something else. Curiosity. "What are you afraid of, Elias?" He didn't answer. He just closed his eyes. And this time, when he whispered in his sleep, she didn't move away. She listened. The silent house, the days grew longer, colder. The gray skies never changed, and the wind never stopped whispering through the metal walls of the outpost. Elias worked in silence. Celery moved through the space like a ghost, quiet, graceful, always watching. He never gave her orders. She never asked permission. Each morning she cooked. Simple meals, not human food, but close enough. Each afternoon she trained alone in the empty yard. Spear in hand, she danced like a shadow in motion, faster than anyone he had seen, but still careful, always holding back. At night, the silence deepened. The outpost felt too big for just two souls. Sometimes Elias would stop working, just to listen. The hum of old machines, the soft clang of her footsteps, the sound of breathing in the next room. But never a question, never a complaint, until one night. He sat near the small heating core, staring at the flames. She sat across from him, legs crossed, arms resting on her knees. "You sleep less than I do," she said suddenly. He didn't look at her. "You listen in your sleep," she added. "Your body rests, your mind doesn't. Is that your warrior sense talking?" he asked without emotion. "No," she said. "Just common sense." Silence fell again. Then she leaned forward. "Who was Lucas?" His shoulders stiffened. "Don't ask." "I already did." He stood, his voice cold. "Stay out of my past." But she didn't move. She just looked into the fire. "You don't have to tell me," she said softly. "But the way you whisper that name, you're not angry. You're afraid." He walked away, leaving the heat behind. She remained by the flames, but her eyes were no longer on the fire. They were on him. The next day, she waited until he was gone before searching his quarters. She didn't search like a thief. She searched like a scout, quiet, careful, fast. Under his cot, she found an old metal box, locked. Next to the box, she found a folded cloth, dark red, almost black. When she opened it, she found a medal, human military, burned along the edges, etched. In the center was a unit number, 3rd Deep Corps Recon, a unit that no longer existed. She had heard of them, rumors only. They went into the darkest places, and most never came back. Those who returned were changed, broken, or worse. She closed the cloth and put everything back. That evening, Elias returned covered in dust and oil. "Comms are still down," he said. "Storm's messing with the signal." She nodded. He looked at her. "You were in my room." "Yes." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. "What did you find?" "Just silence," she said. He almost smiled. Almost. Later, as they sat in the training yard, she handed him the practice spear. "Fight me," she said. "No, you owe me a lesson." "I owe you nothing." "Then fight me anyway." He took the spear. Without a word, they moved into position. She attacked first. Fast, fierce, skilled. But he blocked her easily. His movements were slow. At first. Then she struck harder. And something changed. His eyes darkened. His stance shifted. He moved like a shadow wrapped in fire. Smooth. Fast. Dangerous. In seconds, he knocked her to the ground. She groaned, holding her side. "You weren't holding back." He looked down at her. "Neither were you." She smiled through the pain. "You're stronger than you look." "You're not," he said. "You're hiding something." Her smile faded. She stood slowly, brushing dust from her skin. "We're both hiding," she whispered. That night, she dreamed of the wars her people lost. She saw her sister, last seen screaming in a burning ship. She woke with sweat on her face and pain in her chest. Across the room, Elias was curled in his cot, whispering again, but this time not just one name. He whispered many. Lucas. Commander Reese. Emma, Kira. One by one, the names fell like rain. Sayalari sat up. The sound of those names. It was grief made into sound, a broken soul calling to ghosts. She walked to his cot, knelt beside him. His face was wet with tears. His hands were shaking, and suddenly she knew, whatever they had put inside him, whatever made him survive, it came with a cost. Scars and shadows, the sun never rose on the outpost. Only the pale light of distant moons touched its cold walls. Inside, something had shifted. Since the night she heard his whispers, Sayalari no longer saw Elias as just a soldier, or even a man. She saw him now as a wound wrapped in skin, deep, hidden, and still bleeding. And yet he moved like nothing was wrong, like nothing ever had been. That morning, she waited for him in the training yard again. "Fight me," she said. He didn't answer. She stepped forward, spun her spear, and lunged. He caught it mid-strike and threw it aside. His eyes narrowed. "You'll get hurt." "I already am," she said. "Every day I remember who I used to be." His grip tightened around the spear. Then he dropped it. "Fine." They circled each other in silence. She struck first, fast, high-low, then high again. Each move was trained perfect, but she held back. She didn't want to break him, but he moved differently now. With every block, every dodge, he matched her strength, and then some, until he stopped holding back. His next strike was a blur. The spear hit her wrist, spun from her hands, and she dropped to the ground with a gasp. His foot pressed lightly against her chest. Not hard, just enough to keep her down. "You didn't come here to learn?" he said. "No," she whispered. "I came to see what you are." He pulled back, stepped away, and turned his back. She sat up, panting. "You move like death itself," she said, "but you still bleed." He paused. "You're not wrong," he replied, "but you don't want the truth." "I do." He looked at her over his shoulder. "Then stop asking like a warrior. Ask like a person." Later, while he worked in the storage room, she searched again. Not his bed this time, the small locked locker in the corner. But today, it was open. Inside were weapons. Human-made, modified, but also old documents. She picked up a torn data pad cracked across the surface. It was coded in military text, but she saw one line clearly: Project Abyss, Unit 7. Subject Elias beneath it. Red text. Reactivation risk. Forbidden. She looked deeper. Inside the file was a scan of Elias's body, except it wasn't right. It showed things. Extra things. Not metal. Not cybernetics. Things growing in his chest, around his heart, wrapping his spine. It looked like roots. But roots of what? She stepped back, chest tightening. He wasn't a man, he was something else. That night she didn't speak. She cooked. He ate. She watched him, and he knew it. "What did you find?" he asked after his last bite. "I saw the file," she said softly. He didn't look surprised. "They told me it would die inside me," he said. "They were wrong." "What is it?" she asked. "Something we pulled from a dead star. Old, broken, full of hunger," she whispered. "A parasite?" "No," he said. "A prisoner." She couldn't sleep. The wind screamed outside. Elias sat by the heating core, staring into the flame. She walked up behind him. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. He didn't turn. "Would it change anything?" "Yes," she said. "I'd understand why you never look anyone in the eye." His voice was low. "Because when I do, it sees them." Her blood turned cold. "It's awake?" She asked. "Sometimes," he whispered. "It dreams through me." He looked up. "But only when I bleed." The next day, a warning came from the perimeter alarms. A ship landed near the outpost, unmarked. Dark. Elias stood at the door, weapon ready. Sayalari stood beside him, unarmed. He glanced at her. "Stay behind me." "No," she said. "I want..." to see who dares come here. The door opened. An alien stepped through, tall, covered in golden armor, a royal envoy. His voice was full of pride. I came to check on the human and his pet. Elias didn't speak. The envoy stepped closer to Sayalari. You should be grateful. You were given to a powerful one. Sayalari's eyes narrowed. I was not given. I was stolen. Same thing. The envoy laughed. Elias moved, fast. In less than a second, his hand was around the envoy's throat. He lifted him off the ground. His eyes were no longer normal. They were black, deep, and glowing from within. You will leave, Elias said, and you will never come back. The envoy struggled, gasped, and nodded. Elias dropped him. The alien ran. Sayalari stared at Elias, not with fear, but with wonder. What are you? She whispered. His voice was hollow. Not what I used to be. That night he didn't speak, but Sayalari did. I'm not leaving, she said. I didn't ask you to. But I need to know, she said. How far gone are you? He looked at her, and for the first time, smiled. A sad, broken smile. Far enough to destroy everything, but close enough to still remember who I was. The visitor, the days after the envoy's visit, passed like slow-burning fire. No one spoke of it. But the silence between Elias and Sayalari had changed, not cold, not soft, just heavy, like two warriors waiting for the next battle they knew would come. One morning, the air turned thick with heat. The sky, still gray, carried something else in its wind, the smell of polished metal and danger. A shuttle appeared without warning. No signal, no request. It landed outside the outpost like it belonged there. Elias stepped out first. Sayalari followed, barehanded but alert. From the ship, 3 figures emerged. One was small, dressed like a diplomat. The second was a bodyguard, heavy armor, heavy gun, and the third was him, Lord Commander Tilvath of the Galactic Corps. Cold eyes, skin like white marble. A voice that cut without raising. Elias Gray, he said calmly. We have much to discuss. Elias said nothing. Tilvath stepped forward, slow and calm, like a man already in control. You've been hard to reach. Some believed you were dead. They were almost right, Elias answered. Tilvath smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Then he looked at Sayalari, and his smile vanished. A slave? He asked. Is that what you've fallen to? Sayalari stepped forward. I'm no one's slave. Tilvath's eyes narrowed. Yet you follow him. By choice. Tilvath laughed once, short and dry. Then he turned to Elias again. You were supposed to be locked down, buried in dust, forgotten. But I lived, Elias said. Tilvath's tone dropped. Yes, you did. And now you're a problem. Inside the outpost, they sat across a small table. Tilvath spoke quietly while his guards waited outside. Sayalari stood by the door listening. We found your last trail, Tilvath said. The abandoned station. The ruined corpses. Elias said nothing. You think they were enemies? Tilvath asked. They were observers. They were watching for changes. But you killed them. No, Elias said. It killed them. Tilvath leaned back, his smile returning. So, it still lives inside you. Elias's jaw clenched. You promised it would die, he said. It was a lie, Tilvath said. A necessary one. You were the best. We needed you to say yes, so we lied. You died in every way that mattered, except the one we hoped. Elias's hands curled into fists. And now? He asked. Now we need you again, Tilvath said. A threat is rising. Old. Hungry. Like the thing we planted in your chest. And only it can fight what's coming. Elias stood. I'm not your weapon anymore. Tilvath's voice turned sharp. You don't have a choice. Sayalari stepped forward. Yes, he does, she said. He's not yours. Tilvath stood too, slowly. He looked at her with disgust. Your kind was broken long before the war ended, he said. You should be glad anyone still finds use for you. Elias moved fast. Before Tilvath could blink, he was pinned against the wall. Elias's hand gripped his throat. His eyes turned black. Again. But this time, something pulsed behind them, something red, alive, angry. Speak to her like that again, Elias growled, and you'll see what's left of me. Tilvath choked, struggling. It's waking, he whispered. You feel it, don't you? Elias dropped him. Get out. Tilvath stumbled back. You're making a mistake, he warned. You can't run from what you are. Watch me. That night, the outpost was quiet again, but something had changed. Sailari sat by the heating core, her hands wrapped around a warm cup. Elias stood in the corner facing the wall. You were part of something worse than a war, she said. I was, he answered. What did they call it? Project Abyss. She nodded. And what's inside you? He paused. They called it a symbiont, a living weapon. It came from a broken star. We thought we could control it, bind it to human will. But it changed you. Yes. She stood, walked up to him. Then why are you still sane? He looked at her. His eyes were tired, deep, full of ghosts. Because every time it tries to take more, I remember the people it killed. You hold it back with pain. Yes. How long can you keep doing that? Elias didn't answer, but she saw it in his face. Not long. Later, when he finally slept, Sailari sat by his side. He didn't whisper that night, but the air around him felt heavy, thick with something unseen. She reached out, gently touched his arm, and for a moment she felt it, a presence, inside him, not human, not kind, and it noticed her, just for a second. But it was enough to know one thing. The visitor had not come alone. The truth beneath after Lord Tilvath left, the outpost fell, into silence again, but it was not peace. Something was wrong. Sailari felt it in the walls, in the floor, in the way Elias moved. He walked slower now. His breaths were heavier, and his eyes, once cold and focused, sometimes flickered red when no one spoke. She watched him patch the broken comms array one morning, sweat running down his neck even though the air was cold. You're burning up, she said quietly. It's the thing inside, he replied. It doesn't like being ignored. She stepped closer. Then maybe it's time to stop pretending you're fine. He didn't answer. He only wiped blood from his mouth and kept working. That night, Sailari broke into the archive vault under the outpost. She had seen the access codes in Tilvath's shuttle when he arrived, memorized them in one glance. Inside, the vault was filled with dust and old data cubes. She lit a small lamp and began digging through the shelves. File after file, experiment after experiment. Most were sealed, but one cube was cracked, barely holding power. She plugged it in. The screen flickered, then showed a still image. Elias strapped to a chair, metal spikes drilled into his chest, black veins crawling across his skin. His face was not human anymore, and in his mouth, something glowed, a symbol, not human, not alien, something older. Then the audio played. Subject Elias Gray. Bonded. Status, unstable. Intelligence reports call the creature within the first hunger. Sailari stepped back. The first hunger. She knew that name, from the old songs of her people, from the legends whispered in fear. Before the galaxies had names, before the stars had numbers. There was something that fed on light. It did not come from the stars. It came from before them. She ran back to the living quarters. Elias was there, shirt off, staring at his reflection in a metal plate. His back was covered in black lines, pulsing now, moving like roots under skin. He looked at her in the mirror. You found it, he said softly. It's not just a weapon, she said. It's a god. He shook his head. Not a god, just hunger. It doesn't think. It only remembers being trapped. And now, it's learning from me. Sailari stared at him. What does it want? Elias turned to face her. Everything. That night the outpost shook. Alarms screamed. Outside, a shadow spread across the sky. Ships, but not official. Old. Scarred. Marked with signs of forgotten clans. Pirates? Mercenaries? No. Something worse. Elias grabbed his rifle. They're here. For it, he said. Tilvath must have told them. They want the thing inside you? Sailari asked. No, he said. They want to free it. They fought side by side. Elias moved like lightning, faster than any soldier. Every bullet he fired burned with red light. Sailari danced with her spear, cutting through enemies like wind through leaves. But it wasn't enough. Too many. They fell back inside the outpost. Elias slammed the door shut. They'll break it open, Sailari warned. Then we end it before they can. He walked to the center of the room, removed his chest armor. The black marks on his skin pulsed like veins of lava. He sat down, closed his eyes, and began to whisper in a voice that wasn't his, a voice that echoed from deep inside the earth. Sailari stepped back. What are you doing? Calling it out, he said. Better it wakes now, with me, than with them. The floor cracked beneath him, heat spread through the room. His eyes opened. They were not his eyes anymore. They were windows into a place with no stars, no life, only hunger. Sailari moved to stop him, grabbed his hand. Come back, she whispered. He gasped, his chest heaved. The light in his eyes faded. Just a little. You're still in there, she said. I know you are. He blinked, shook, and the darkness inside paused. Not stopped, but paused. Then came the pounding at the door. The mercenaries had breached the outer wall. They're here, he said. Then let me fight with you, Sailari said. He looked at her. You've seen what I am. Yes, she said, and I stayed anyway. They opened the door together. The night outside was full of fire, but they walked into it side by side, and the thing inside Elias whispered again. Not in hunger, not in hate, but in fear, because something stronger than it had awakened, and it was human. What he became, the night was burning. The outpost was no longer a shelter. It was a battlefield lit by red fire, scattered bodies, and smoke that smelled like metal and blood. Elias and Sailari stood back to back as the mercenaries charged. They came in waves, armed with energy blades, plasma rifles, and courage bought by lies. But they were not ready for Elias. He moved like nothing human, his body blurred through motion. When bullets hit him, they didn't stop him. They sank into his skin like drops of rain and vanished. He tore through attackers with bare hands, and when he screamed, it wasn't just a voice. It was a sound that shattered helmets and hearts. One mercenary raised a heavy cannon. Elias caught the shot mid-air and threw it back with a wave of heat. Sailari fought beside him. She used speed, not strength. She danced between enemies, striking where it hurt most. For every soldier Elias crushed, she saved one more life from getting behind him. But even together, they were getting tired. More are coming, she said, breathless. Good, he replied. I'm not done. But she saw it in his eyes. Something else was rising beneath his skin. The thing inside was tired of waiting. They made it back to the command room, doors locked, wounds patched quickly. Outside, the enemies gathered for a final push. Sailari turned. To Elias, his hands were trembling. Not from pain, from control. How long can you keep it down, she asked. He looked at her. I don't know. His voice cracked. It whispers louder now. Not in words. In needs. It wants me to burn them, all of them. Then don't listen. You think it's that easy? He snapped. His voice wasn't just his anymore. A second voice layered beneath it. Something deep. Monstrous. He stepped back, breathing hard. It's learning from me. Copying my thoughts. Soon it won't need me to act. It'll act on its own. Sayalari didn't flinch. She walked to him, placed her hand on his chest. His skin burned hot, almost glowing under her touch. I don't care what's inside you, she said. I care about the part that holds it back. That's the part I trust. He stared at her. His eyes were flickering. Normal 1 second, glowing red the next. You're not afraid? He whispered. No, she said. I've already lived through worse. I was a slave. I survived silence and shame. But this is your fight, and I won't let you fight it alone. A silence passed between them. Then, he dropped to his knees. I'm so tired, Sayalari. She knelt beside him. Then let me carry some of it. Outside, the final wave came. Ships in the sky, tanks on the ground, hundreds of mercenaries. All for one man. They didn't want to kill him. They wanted to capture him, to bring him to the ones who worshipped the void, to feed the thing inside. But Elias stood tall. His body cracked with heat. Steam rose from his arms. If I let it out, he said, I might not come back. Then I'll follow you in, Sayalari said, and she meant it. He touched her cheek. Thank you. Then he opened the gates, walked into the flames, and unleashed it. Not all of it, just a piece, enough to darken the sky, enough to stop time. The mercenaries screamed. Their weapons melted in their hands. Their minds broke. Some ran. Some dropped to their knees. Others laughed as they burned. Elias walked through them, his voice a whisper, his eyes windows into something older than creation. He didn't need to fight. The thing inside fought for him. But Sayalari followed, not afraid, not backing away. She saw what he became and she called his name. Elias. He paused, just for a second. Come back, she said. Remember who you are. The light around him flickered. His arms shook. Then, he turned toward her and fell to his knees. Blood poured from his mouth, his body steaming. The thing inside screamed, not aloud but in her mind. She dropped beside him, held him. You're still here, she whispered. He nodded. Barely. She held his face in her hands. Don't you dare die on me now. The battlefield was quiet. No more enemies, just ash, just smoke, and two souls who stood when all others fell. But inside him, something was still awake, not angry, not hungry, but watching her, as if it finally noticed who she was and decided she might be a threat, not a slave. The battlefield was silent. The smoke had settled. The bodies had stopped moving. The fire had died. But deep inside Elias, something was still awake. He lay in the dirt, breathing slow and weak. His skin was burned. His veins glowed dim red. His eyes were shut, but his body trembled like it was holding back a storm. Sayalari knelt beside him, one hand on his chest. She could feel it. The thing inside. It was no longer just whispering. It was watching her. It had seen her calm him, hold him back, bring him back from the edge, and had hated her for it. But Sayalari didn't care. You're not taking him, she whispered. You've had your time. She looked down at Elias. He's mine now. They dragged him inside the outpost, what little remained of it. She patched his wounds, set broken ribs, held his hand while he shook from cold and fire. His body healed too fast, too wrong. Flesh closed like wax under heat. But it wasn't natural. It was the hunger, trying to keep its vessel alive. He woke once, just long enough to speak. It knows you. I figured, she said. It's afraid of you. She blinked. Why? He coughed. Blood touched his lips. Because you made me choose. The next day the sky turned black, not with clouds, with something else. A massive ship arrived. No signal, no name, just presence. Above the outpost, it floated like a mountain made of shadow. Sayalari walked outside, alone, standing in the wind, the call. Voice came not from the sky but inside her skull, Release him. He is ours. She clenched her fists. No, she said. You are nothing. Once enslaved, once discarded. Now, you stand in the path of forever. Then I'll die on that path. There was silence. Then, it descended. Not the ship. A being. Form made of ashen stars. Tall. Shifting. Shaped like memory and madness. It landed in front of her, and took a step forward. You cannot kill me, it said. She stepped forward too. Maybe not. Then she reached into her cloak and pulled out something small, a metal shard. Black and humming. Elias had given it to her just before passing out. If it ever comes, use this. He had carved a mark into it, the same one etched inside his armor, the death ward sign. She held it up and the creature stopped. For the first time, it moved back. Just one step. But enough. You carry his will, it said. I carry mine, she replied. He set me free. Now I set you free. She plunged the shard into the dirt. A blast of light exploded around them. The ground shook. The sky ripped open, the creature screamed, and for a second everything stopped. Time. Sound. Reality. When it ended, the ship was gone. The sky was blue, and Elias opened his eyes. He looked at her. You did it, he whispered. We did it, she said. He sat up slowly. The red glow in his veins was gone. The hunger had left. Or maybe it had died with the creature in the sky. Either way, he was free. Weeks passed. They stayed at the outpost, rebuilding. Messages came from high command, asking what had happened. Elias said nothing. He destroyed the files, burned the records. He was done being a weapon. One day a transport came. It brought a new officer, clean uniform. Fake smile. Commander Elias Gray, the man said. You're being called back to Central Command. I'm not going, Elias said. You don't have a choice. Salari stepped beside him. Yes, he does. The man looked at her. And you are? The one who saved him, she said. And if you try to take him, I'll bury you where you stand. The man left. No one returned after that. On the edge of the outpost near the training yard, Salari sat watching the wind move across the barren field. Elias joined her, carrying 2 cups of something hot. They drank in silence. Then he spoke. You never had to stay, I know. You were given to me, and I set you free. You did. So why are you still here? She looked at him. Because I choose to be. He smiled. Soft. True. For once, not sad, not a slave. Never again. And as the sun finally broke through the clouds for the first time since they met, they sat together, not as prisoner and soldier, not as cursed and savior, but as 2 souls who chose each other, after everything tried to tear them apart.